Just for you to know, Robert's made another fantastic Cuckoo Clock 65. You just made another fantastic funny film. 20 quid and a car boot. Yeah.
Now Reggie's budget's normally £20 for the Sunday.
With a bit of leeway.
Now, how much have you spent today? Forget the.
Can't remember.
You can. I can remember exactly what you spent.
Fiver for
3, 20.
No,
Then all that stuff in there. 1999.
Just £19.99. That's what it was.
Debbie, when you get home, check his wallet. That's all I'm saying.
So today's film, you know we're still on the knives. Today's film is going to be a little bit of a winding path. But I promise you, and it's a story I haven't told you before, you will find out at the end of this film how me and Debbie got together, how it came about, you know, before me and Debbie got together, and how I knew Debbie's family, and anyway, and it's going to involve actually, and with this and the manufacture of this type of thing. So let's begin in the beginning. And by the way, Robert's put a fantastic film on again, just for you to know. So let's begin. The thought processes of the beginning of this film was, why am I interested in tools, and why is tools so interesting? And let's have a look at the evolution of this. You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the horse or the cart? Or what came first, the Stanley blade or the Stanley handle? Wow, yeah, because I've only ever known of these as a Stanley knife. I mean, I know they're called a utility knife and they're made by different manufacturers, but to me this is a Stanley knife. Without the branding on it, this is a Stanley knife. It's always been a Stanley knife, and this is a Stanley blade, and it's always been a Stanley blade. If you said to me, go and get me a Stanley blade, I would get you one of these. So what was before Stanley blades and Stanley handles? And you know, tools are an evolution, aren't they? You know, these are fixed blades. Now I'm sure over the years these have given people some nasty cuts in pockets. They've was it legislation? What made the industry turn to retractable blades? Yeah, hold on, we've got one here. Yeah, what was this? That needs a blade in it to show you, doesn't it? You know what I mean though, don't you? Hold on. And I also thought, I wonder why we've been buying these with no blades. I wonder if that's a regulation, you can't do a blade in a car boot. Anyway. So who invented this? Was this a Stanley invention? When did that come about? And was that through just the evolution of the tool? Because a fixed blade, quite a dangerous. I'm sure that's done quite a few cuts in so many pockets or fell upon. I'm sure that's in today's health and safety madness world, that's quite a dangerous thing. And then they did this, didn't they? The evolution of it. The next evolution was this. And what's the story on the patents? What date did these come out? And what's the difference? Why is there different manufacturers? Is this a way around it? They saw Stanley was so popular, they thought they'd make their own. And the way of fiddling, the way of getting around the rules, was to maybe make a thinner one, or to make one that's the same but isn't the same. Is that a copy? Is that under license? How does it all? What's the evolution of tools? And that's how it's so fascinating. And we'll be going upstairs, and that's why we collect the books as well. we see that, because some of these, the date this goes back to must be a hell of a date, I reckon, because you see them steel ones with holes in, don't you? Anyway, and how do they evolve themselves into this new way of changing blades? And now they fold over like this, and you know, keeping the blades, having to unscrew them has always been a pain in the butt. And then they made these ones that clip open and shut, don't they, that get fouled up with rubbish. And now they've come up with this idea, which I think is an absolutely brilliant idea. It's really clever. There's some clever people come up with some clever solutions, isn't there? Yeah. Wow. That makes sense. Why didn't they do that in the first place? Was that production techniques? Can they make this today when the other day, years ago, they couldn't make them? And then plastic. Somebody thought, ooh, it's cheaper to make. That handle is obviously cheaper to make than a less of a stronger machine and all the rest of it. Look at that. Anyway, so we'll go and see the books in a minute. So let's give you a little taster into what brought me and Debbie together. And this is a pressure, this is a cast, this has been made by a pressure die casting machine. And I worked in Alfred now, I don't know what year it was, I don't know. It was when I came out the army. And it involves Emlyn from Wales. The AlphaCast. How long ago was AlphaCast running? I'll tell you the story in a minute. But this is a pressure die casted. This is two big machines, dies that have been pushed this way and this way. And the bit that sticks in, that's the male half of the die, sticks out, and the female half of the die, this is the female half of the die. This has been made in one piece. And then the two dies come together in this massive machine, and I did see there was a bit of flashing on this. Do you see this? This is where the machine hasn't quite closed, or there's been damage on the die, and this is where you get this edge. It's a casting machine where they come together. And you see these little pins here? These little pins are within the die, so you've moulded it, it's stuck there now, and these pins are the pins that push it off the die. That's what these pins are. That's why these little round things are there. Yeah. And this has been made. You're gonna have to use a bit of imagination, and I worked on those machines. You've got this side, you'll have, say, the male, so the sticky out bit, which becomes the sticky in bit. This is the male cast here, which is this front here, so that's sticking out on the mold, isn't it? And this is the female side, so this will be sticking inwards. And this gap here is the gap in between, and it's on a huge machine. They may have made a row of 6 or 12 or whatever of these would have been together, and it's made by a sprue. So the material, this would have been red hot. This would have flowed into the machine, and it would have had what's called a sprue, and you knock off the sprue and you sand down the edges, and voila, it's made. And I used to make these. Well, I'm not sure if I made Stanley ones. I used to make aluminium castings on a pressure die casting machine. So you get the metal, you get a ladle now. I've got a ladle here somewhere. I've got a ladle in here somewhere, we'll find it. And you've got a furnace by the side here. And you ladle up, you clear the top of it, you ladle up the aluminium, you push it out with your hand. Well, let's do the first process. The die's open, you've got this air gun come water gun, and you spray the inside of the die. You press a button, and the two big dies on a big machine shut together. And then you get your aluminium, your melted aluminium, you get your ladle, and there's a shaft with a hole in it, and you pour the aluminium in the hole, and then there's a hydraulic ram basically, and it pressure die, it shoves the material into the die, and it forms any shape you want it to form, any shape you want it to form. So now this is in there, and the big dies, then you press another button, and the big dies, or is it automatic, they open up, and here this will be stuck on the thing there now. To unstick it, this is where these little come out, and the inside of the machine pops it off, and this falls to the ground, and you pick it up, or at the bottom of the machine you pick it up off the machine because it's at working height, and then you knock off the sprue, which is the excess, and then you put it in a bin. Now then we were using tea chests. Everything was put into tea chests. You used to move everything around tea chests. Then it would simply go around to a man that would grind it, and then it would go to a machine shop, and they would put it in a die, and then they would drill the hole, and then they would put the thread in it, and in this case they've painted it, so maybe they'd hang it and paint it and whatever. So anyway, we've got to look at the books, we've got to find the history, see how far back we can find these in the books and what they look like, and let's go to mine and Debbie's history of how we got together and how I got to know Debbie's family. Yeah. I know it's a bit of a long story, but hang on in there. See, Debbie's, and we're looking at the head because it's still early morning. Anyway,
what are you doing?
I'm going to tell the story of how I worked in AlphaCast.
Oh.
It's my favourite story to tell.
Oh.
Here's my witness. So I worked in AlphaCast in PENYGROES, and Debbie's uncle worked there. Debbie's two uncles worked there, Uncle Alf and Uncle Ray. Debbie's granddad, what was your granddad called, Deb? Horace. And Horace, anybody from PENYGROES listening, worked in PENYGROES. Horace. And Debbie's dad, Mike, would he be in a Radnor or a Ball then? Mike Radnor, whoever remembers Mike Radnor, he was the foreman.
Do you really think people are going to watch that
way
back?
Yeah, from way back, because we've been married 40 years next year.
God.
Anyway, listen, it's a funny story. So, Debbie's Uncle Alf was on the pots, used to melt the aluminium, and then melt it from a big pot and put it into little pots by the machines, and then I used to ladle it out the machines and put it in the machines to make the casting, because that's what we've been just looking at, pressure die casting. And then Debbie's other uncle, which was now Alf, was Debbie's mother's sister's husband. Then there was Ray, which was Debbie's dad's brother.
Don't bore people to death.
No, yeah, go on. I'm just got to fill the gaps in.
Oh.
He used to work on the furnace, and he was in the sand casting department, and he used to work the furnaces. And Debbie's granddad was he used to sand and grind the edges off the castings, off the metal castings. And then Debbie's dad was the foreman, right? So Debbie's dad was the foreman, okay? So, and like I say, everything went into tea chest. We were sitting one day having a tea chest. So remember that story I've told you. There's another little bit running up to that. So me and Em, you know Em from Wales, don't you, Emmeline? Emmeline Harding-Jones, my friend for life. Yeah, we ring each other every couple of weeks. Anyway, I've never been a heavy drinker. We used to like eating and drinking. So we'd have a few pints and then we'd have a nice meal. Now, Debbie's mother and Debbie's grandmother used to work in a place called the Coach House, which is the back of the Royal Hotel. But explain the place, Deb, what it was like.
It was a romantic steak bar.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it was a steak bar, and you used to get fish.
Candles on the table.
Yeah. It was the fashion of the...
Darkly lit.
Yeah, darkly lit.
Couples used to come.
Yeah, but me and Em used to love the food, and because we used to go twice a week there eating, we they knew us, so we always used to get a bigger slice of blackcurrant gâteau. Anyway, Debbie's mum was the manageress, and Debbie's grandmother was she was the cook when she used to bash you hear banging the steaks, cooking the meat. Okay, so you've got the picture where they both worked. So I'm sitting now at work in Alphacast in PENYGROES, having a tea break, sitting and talking to Mike, as you do, talk to your work colleagues. He was the foreman, the union rep. And I happened to say to him, "Hey, have you seen the manageress in the coach house?" Yeah, he says. "Oh, she's got a lovely pair of unmentionables, you know. Lovely pair. Oi, that's my wife. Ends up being my mother-in-law." Many years after, wasn't it? But that's how I knew the family way before I bumped into Debbie, didn't you? And at one point you were a waitress there, weren't you?
I used to do Friday night and Saturday nights because I was still at school.
Yeah, and you used to remember us coming in, didn't you? And you used to say, "Them pair are here again. They're very odd, them pair."
Well, I used to think you were gay.
Yeah. Well, before even gayness was invented, but it wasn't that. It's because we didn't like excess drinking. We used to have a pint or two, and then we'd go and we'd have a fantastic meal. Because you could then, it was fairly cheap. I think I used to buy it on a Friday and Em used to buy it on a Thursday whenever we got paid, right? So that's how, sort of, the long way around, how me and Debbie got together. And this Alphacast, this factory called Alphacast in PENYGROES. What year was that, Deb? What year were you living in?
I don't know, Reg, when that was.
What year? When were you living in? Because Debbie come from down south. Debbie comes from London. Debbie was born in Essex. She's an Essex girl, aren't you?
I wasn't born in Essex.
Balham. Yeah.
South London.
South London. But the family moved up. Yeah, moved up here. Anyway, that's Debbie's story. Right, let's continue with the tools. I told you I'd let you know that story.
Oh my God, I bet they're bored silly. Can I go and get dressed now?
Yeah, look, I'm just gonna make it the rest of the film.
Oh God.
So let's continue now then. And part of the tools and the history of tools and and the evolution of tools, and that's why collecting the books is so interesting and fascinating, and different years of the books. So come with me and let's follow the path of utility knives or Stanley knives via the books. It's going to take me a while, so yeah, it'll only take you a click on the film, but it's going to take me ages to find them. Don't be so impatient. We've found it in this book here, and we found it in this book here, and we found it in that book there, and we found it in this book here, under there, and we've even found it in the Dominic Chinea tool book. So we've got Debbie's reading, we've got that to look forward to. Debbie's agreed to read it, yeah. So Debbie will read that for us out of the Dominic Chinea tool book, and I'm still looking. I haven't found it in this book, and I haven't found it in this one neither. Well, under Stanley, they're calling them trim knives, aren't they? Yeah, and these do sell smaller stuff, so it's got to be in there somewhere, I would think. They sell sort of, smaller stuff. See, mirrors and all that. So it's just knowing what they call it, and because they're calling it a trim knife. Yeah, so I am getting there. Just be patient, and really going to look forward to Debbie reading the book. Well, here we are. Look, Stanley breast drills, hand drills, screwdriver bits, screwdriver, yeah, Phillips screwdriver, Stanley screwdriver, Sparrow, yeah, standard. There's no Stanley knife in this book, is there? So they definitely dealt with Stanley. So I wonder if they call it something else. Have they changed their name to utility knife, or doesn't even say knife there, does it? But they definitely got Stanley products, haven't they? 173, 174, 175. Let's have a look. Stanley drills, Stanley Yankee and Stanley screwdrivers. Yeah. And so they deal with Stanley. Funny. No Stanley knives though. That's interesting. What was this one? Was this the 1940 book? Look. That's very much like a Stanley, isn't it? Multiple tool. Doesn't say Stanley on it though, does it? But Eclipse is here. Yeah. Eclipse is here. Just happens to be, look, that's very much like a Stanley product, as you would imagine. That's definitely a, look, that's an Eclipse, a pad handle. Wow. So, I wonder if they call it a different thing. This one's 66. So here's that one, the recent Buck and Hickman book we got. And look, we found them. That's a Roebuck trimming knife. They call it now. There's a Stanley trimming knife. Do you see that? Yeah. Stanley, more modern as we recognise it, don't we? We recognise these as trimming knives. Retractable blade ones. Wow, yeah. And they're still doing the fixed blade ones as well, aren't they? They're over here. See how evolution and even the blades have changed, or you know, they're making different blades available. Wow. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. It's story time! Debbie's going to read out of Dominic Chinier's tool book. Fantastic. If you haven't got one, get the wife. Get the wife and show her this video. Tie her to a chair with the gaffer tape and tie her and show her this book. Fantastic stocking filler. Yeah, Debbie's going to read. There you are, darling. Wait. All right, are you ready? Right, fire away.
Hello, children.
We are all children, are we?
Right. Hello, Charlie. Can I read the story, please? Thank you. Good boy. Sit down then. Sit down. Right.
Yeah.
Right, ready?
Yeah.
The Stanley knife is a difficult one to put into a category because, well, everyone in the UK, Australia, New Zealand and parts of Europe, but not the USA, see below, just knows it as the Stanley knife.
Yeah.
If we're being technical, which I suppose we should, it is a utility knife with a retractable and replaceable blade. Yeah, because we never call them utilities, do we?
No.
The Stanley knife is used by all sorts of different crafts and trades, but often for cutting carpet, cord, packaging and cardboard. When they first made their utility knife back in 1936, Stanley referred to it as the number 199. It had a fixed blade, but it was replaceable and was made with a strong die-cast zinc body.
Yeah, die casting machine, yeah, we know about that.
You can still get the number 199, and I preferred it to the version with the retractable blade. Frederick T. Stanley was born in Connecticut in 1802 and was one of 7 kids growing up on a family farm. As a young man, he worked in all sorts of jobs, including as a clerk on a steamboat and a travelling peddler and a machine manufacturer. He went into business with his brother in 1831, making door locks, among other things. The business didn't survive and the big financial crisis of 1837, but they recovered and founded the Stanley Bolt Manufacturer in
Ooh.
1842.
Blimey, we'll have to look at that.
And the Stanley Works in 1853.
So is he an American or a British bloke?
Well, he was born in Connecticut. So
Oh
he's
yeah, American
isn't
bloke,
he?
yeah.
After a few good years, the business started diversifying, innovating, and trying to sell its wares abroad. This was massively successful, and by 1919, sales were around 11 million, about $170 million in today's terms.
Wow.
In the 1920s and the 1930s, they began to acquire other companies such as J.A. Chapman, a maker of hand tools based in Sheffield. During the Second World War, the company made over 30 million cartridge clips and 450 million machine gun pellet links. It wasn't until 1961 that it updated its very successful utility knife. And this was one featured in a novel invention, a retractable blade, a design that is virtually unchanged today. Amusingly, Americans don't call this a Stanley knife. They call it a box cutter or a utility knife. Okay,
That's
end
it.
of story.
End of story. Wasn't that fascinating?
Now, children, how about a nice cup of tea?
Yeah, nice cup of tea.
And
I would like to read the back of the book. Go on. Yeah, read the book.
I was just saying what it says about this book.
Yeah.
It says, a tool is an object with unlimited possibilities. Contained within each item is the chance to build, to inspire, to repair and improve. From the everyday workhorses built to fuel the Industrial Revolution to the specialist tools that allow today's highly skilled artisans to produce ornate creation. This book shines a light on the most inspiring tools found in Dom's workshop, each with a unique story to tell. That is Reggie in a nutshell.
So now we know why Stanley was there, but we can't find it in the 1935 book because it wasn't on the market then. It wasn't invented, was it? We can't find it in the 1930 book. However, here it is. What was the year on this one? Oh, did we have a year on this one? We found it in this book. Here it is, look. Wow, yeah. Price per 100. That was that one, right? We've got it in this book here. Yeah, we've got it in here. Trimming knife, they call it, isn't it? Yeah. And that is the... Ooh, let's have a look. The 1958 book. It's in there. It's here with a few add-ons. Look, this is the more modern one. This is the 1971, 72 book. That one is. And then it's here. Look, it's here. Stanley trimming knife. 2 and 6. Pack of 5. Oh, pack of 5, 2 and 6. How much is 2 and 6 in modern money, Deb?
I don't remember the old money.
2 and 6, 2 shillings. Isn't 10 pence 2 shillings? I can't remember. 2 shillings and 6 pence for 5 of them. Oh wow. That's the 199. Yeah. The 199. 6 shillings each. Wow. 12 pennies to a shilling. Wasn't a 5 pence a shilling, wasn't it? Anyway, that is there in the 1946 book. Let's move forward a bit. Oh, lovely illustration, really big in this one. We found it in this book. In this book, this is per 100. This is. Oh no, 2 and 6 per pack of 5. Yeah. Look, oh, that blades. That was 6 shillings. It's still 6 shillings here. In what year was this? 1961. There. Also, it was probably Pretty fresh there, wasn't it? Pretty new. When we didn't, what was this one? 1966. But it's not here, look. Something different. But they did deal with Stanley. But they just didn't do Stanley knives, was it? Hold on, we did see that. Yeah. And we found it. We didn't find it in this book. We didn't find it in this one. And we didn't find it in that one. There's a few more to go through that we didn't find. But thanks to Dominic's Chinese Toolbook, we've did we find it in this one? And what did they call it? Yeah. Such a I love them all. I love them all. Tools are a fantastic thing, and the history and the lineage of it.